Lovely. So we can start. Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to Healthy Waves, the podcast where we dive deep into the transformative conversations with the experts from all walks of life. Together, we explore the ideas, tools, and the practices to help you live a healthier and more fulfilled life, mind, body, and the soul. I'm your host Avik, and I couldn't be more excited to have you here all. And as each episode, we will bring you the insightful discussions with our amazing guests who share their unique expertise to help you find the clarity, purpose, and the balance. So get ready to ride the wave of inspiration and growth with us. And today's special guest is the one and only Rose Place. So welcome to the show, Rose.
Thank you so much, Avik. Very happy to be here.
Lovely, lovely. So, Ross, like before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Ross is the guardian angel communicator and the creator of Channel of Clarity method, a step-by-step approach to help people connect directly with their guardian angels for trustworthy guidance. So, with over 20 years of experience, she has guided countless individuals towards clarity, confidence, and the transformation. And her mission to empower all of you to access the wisdom of your highest guide, your guardian angel, anytime you need it. So, welcome to the show, and I can't wait to explore about today's discussion.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Lovely, lovely. So, Ross, like, if you can tell us about your journey as a guardian angel communicator, when did you first realize you had this gift?
Well, angels are my earliest memory. I can remember laying in my little crib as a little toddler, a little kind of probably around age 2, looking up at the ceiling and seeing angels, seeing their lights and having them communicate with me, guide me, help me, and really from a very early age start to train me up to teach me how to do things. So it started from birth. It was something that I was born with, and I really thought that it was what everybody could do until I reached age 11. I went to a little primary school, a little local school, and we used to play, and I was able to be myself. And it wasn't until I got to age 11 when I realised that it wasn't what everybody else could do. And I kind of reached that stage around teenage, just entering into adolescence, where all I wanted to be like was everybody else. And so I closed down my communication channel with my guardian angel Trisan, and it reopened for me when I had our first son. So when I was 31, I had our first son, and Trisan and I reconnected. And ever since then, I've been guiding people to and teaching them how to communicate or with their own guardian angels so that they can get trustworthy guidance to all of their questions. Because in today's world, where there are so many truths, so many opinions, so many points of view, so much confusion that's creating so much fear and panic for people, really knowing that you can ask a question that is important to you and get a trustworthy answer that you can apply to your life is an incredible way to experience your purpose, to feel safe, to know that your family are safe, to know that you're going to thrive. And it's how we live our life. Because 2 years ago, Trasan said, "You are leaving England." So I'm 50 now, and me and my husband have two boys, Zed and Manny, and they're 19 and 14. And for since 2023, we've been traveling the world under the guidance of Trasan and seeing the most incredible places, connecting with the most amazing people, and always knowing that we're safe. always knowing that we're all going to thrive, that we're all going to be able to have experiences which are going to be positive, and it is the most amazing way for me to live a life, but also to teach other people they can also experience.
Exactly. Exactly. What a lovely thing, definitely. And how did that moment shape your path, and what led you to start teaching others to connect with their guardian angels?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So when Tristan told me that we'd be
Mhm.
leaving England and we'd be traveling, it was a shock. And it wasn't something that I had anticipated. And it was also
Mm,
something that I had to go and tell my family. Tristan said, you're going to be leaving
mm,
England, you're going to be packing up your home, and you're going to be traveling the world, and I'm going to guide you. And I can remember coming down to speak to, I had my little office up in our little terraced house in the north of England. And my office was right up
mm,
in the roof, and I remember walking down the two flights of stairs to get to the dining table where everyone was having dinner and saying, "This is what Tristan has just said." And my husband and our two sons just looked up at me and just went, "Okay." So presenting that information was really pivotal because it isn't just about my journey, it's about our journey as a family. So Tristan guides us all, and it's a really wonderful relationship that we all have with Tristan, because even though Eddie and my sons all know their guardian angels, they're not currently communicating with them. That's not something that they've chosen to do. So they love to ask Tristan questions, they trust Tristan. It's a fantastic relationship that we all have. So it was an incredible turning point. And in terms of teaching people,
mm,
for so many years, I had communicated with people's guardian angels for them. I've connected people with their guardian angels, shared their guardian angel's name and their life purpose, strengths, and their purpose here on earth for 2 decades. And for such a long time, people had said to me, "Can you teach me how to do what you do? Can you teach me how to communicate with my guardian angel like you communicate with Tristan?" And I couldn't, because I had been born with that ability and I didn't understand how I did it. And it was at the exact time that Tristan said, "You're leaving England," that he said, "The channel of clarity method is the step by step process that I'm going to give you, one step at a time, that's going to teach people how to do this from them for themselves." Because I love seeing people having that empowered relationship with their guardian angel. So they can ask any question, private questions, personal questions,
mm.
questions that come to mind immediately and not have to wait to ask somebody else.
Yeah.
And so both things came at the same time.
Mm, understand. Yeah. And you have mentioned that your own guardian angel, Trishan, has guided you through life. So if you can share a moment when their guidance profoundly impacted you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are lots of different times in my life where Tristan's guidance has profoundly affected me. I think what I would say about the way I would answer that question is that
Mhm.
Tristan always guides me in a way that I am most receptive to, and your guardian angel will do the same. Guardian angel guidance is not always
Yeah.
convenient. So, guardian angels
Mm,
aren't there saying to you, "Oh, yeah, that idea that you have, you should definitely do that," or "Yeah, do that," or "This is the thing that you should do." They won't take responsibility for, they won't take over in terms of saying, "This is what you must do, and this is the path that you must follow." They won't disempower you from opportunities to learn. But when you ask them questions, your guardian angel, and the questions that you ask are really important. And that's something I really love helping people with. Really taking time to work out what you want to ask. When you ask those questions and you get those answers back, sometimes it isn't convenient. So I'll give you an example of a recent example of this. As we are traveling, there are so many places in the world that I'd love to see. We've spent time in South and Central America, and I love it. And there are still places that I want to go to. So far, we've been to Brazil, we've been to Ecuador, we've been to Mexico in Central America, and this is the second time now that we're back in Peru, in Cuzco. Now, my sons love jiu-jitsu. I don't know whether you've heard of jiu-jitsu, but it's like a martial art, I suppose some people would call it. They love jiu-jitsu. And there is one particular place in the world that they really want to go to in order to learn jiu-jitsu. And I asked Tristan, and the guidance is that that particular part of the world, and I won't tell you where it is, but that particular part of the world is not somewhere which will support us, in which we can develop and grow in the same way as we have done so through our journey in South America currently. And that was really hard because I wanted, as a mum, with all of my heart, to say, yeah, let's
Yeah.
go. That place you want to go to, 100%, let's go now. And I communicated this information back to my son and what Tristan had shared about it, and he was accepting of it. He wasn't delighted with the news, and it doesn't mean that we can't re-explore that. But that's the important thing about angelic guidance. You ask a question and you will receive guidance, wisdom, which aligns with your purpose, which aligns with the path of most success, safety, which is such an important word in today's world, health and thriving. And that doesn't always fit in with, in this case, what I knew with all my heart I wanted my son to have yesterday. But also, it happens for me. It's like, well, this is really something that I would. He gave me some guidance recently, and he said, over the space of the next year, it would be wise for you to do this certain thing that he's suggested that we do, and we're doing it. It's never, you must do this thing. It's never, I'm going to take over responsibility for your life. And so the guidance isn't always convenient, but it is always leading you, and it always has led us to somewhere where we can all be safe and healthy and thrive. So I hope that answers your question. It's quite a long way of answering it, but
Like,
is that an
I really love
example of
that. Yeah, I really love. Yeah. And also like just wanted to understand what are some of the biggest misconceptions about guardian angel communication that you have come across?
Misconceptions. That's a really good question. So I think one of the things sometimes when people think about guardian angel communication or verbal channeling, which is what I teach, is that you're going to be speaking in tongues. You're going to be speaking words out of your mouth which are impossible to understand, or that your body's going to be overtaken and you're going to start moving in weird ways, or that you're going to be taken over in some way. And that is not what happens through the channel of clarity method. You create connection with your guardian angel, only with your guardian angel, that is completely safe and secure, a connection which is completely familiar to you. And the information comes through and is spoken out in a way that you're present to, but you don't influence. And that's a really important part of guardian angel communication. You're not separate from it. You are present to it, but you're not influencing it. You're not colouring the guidance that comes through. So there's a few different misconceptions there, perhaps uh, that people may have. It is a spa-like experience. That's the way I describe it. Like, I love channeling Tristan. I love asking questions and knowing that I always get a trustworthy answer back, but probably just as much as the actual asking of questions and getting answers. I love how I feel when I channel. It's a relief. It's a complete release from being me, like having to work everything out myself, having to think of all of the different things. It's a
Hmm.
release from that experience of control, but you are powerful in the position, but you are regenerated. It's such an enjoyable experience. You come back and you feel energized, re-energized. It's a wonderful experience.
Like, lovely. And a lot of people struggle with trusting themselves, let alone hire guide. So, how does your method help build that trust?
Yeah, absolutely. Trust is huge. And trust is something which is built one step at a time. And you're quite right, Avik. It absolutely starts with yourself. You can't trust someone else unless you can trust yourself. You might want to, but it's not possible. And so the whole journey within Channel of Clarity starts with trusting yourself. And that trusting yourself starts with the first step of the process, which is connecting in with your heart center and saying three sentences to yourself in your mother tongue. That's really important. The words that I speak are in English because English is my first language, but I train people throughout the entire world. And when they say these three sentences to themselves in their mother tongue, there is something extremely powerful that happens. So we start with Awakening Heart Center. And what you will say to yourself as part of that process is, I love you. I accept you for all that you are. I love you unconditionally. And with those words, we begin the journey of loving, accepting, knowing, embracing yourself. And from that place of love and understanding what love means, you're able to open because you're not opening up to an unknown. There's something in the channel of clarity process that I teach that's called allowing. And this is what Trasan gave us within the program. Allowing is knowing what you're saying yes to, knowing what feels good and safe to you. Often with spiritual development, people will say you need to open up, you need to let go, you need to surrender, you need to open your heart center, you need to be wide open to something which you're not familiar with. And you can't develop in that way because wherever there is any level of fear, there will be a closing down. And that is something which must be in place. It's a safeguarding of you. Opening up to the unknown isn't responsible, it's not considered. And so, creating an individual allowing, as Trasan calls it, for each client that I work with is the pivotal moment in which they say, I can feel completely safe because I'm saying yes to this. I know what it looks like, I know what it feels like, it's personal to me. There's no barriers to that. And so the trust that is created through putting yourself in the driving seat, but also knowing what you're opening up to, is really the catalyst for that development of trust. And that's something which is inside of the channel of clarity method so that people can know what they're opening up to with their guardian angel. Because as rational as it might be to open up to unconditional love, your guardian angel, our logical minds and our previous experiences can really interfere with that. And so understanding that, allowing and creating that for yourself works inside of the program to create that trust. But it also becomes an amazing manifesting tone that clients take out into their lives that means that they can bring into their lives things which they've been found impossible: new relationships, new homes, career progression, new businesses in many cases, because they know what they're saying yes to. So that's where the trust is. I love you, I accept you for all that you are, I love you unconditionally. And knowing what you're saying yes to and not being persuaded into it, but being in the driving seat of that.
Lovely, lovely. Great. And also, what's the one message you hope listeners take away from this episode about connecting with their guardian angel?
That there is a trustworthy source of guidance, that
Uh-huh.
you don't need to struggle or doubt or second guess yourself or
Yeah.
fear or worry or have doubt in your ideas or your strengths or what you're capable of. That connecting with your guardian angel is the key to trustworthy guidance to all of life's questions.
Lovely. That's great. And Also, like, what's your vision for the future of the channel of clarity method and its impact on the world?
I would love for people to be able to develop these relationships with their guardian angels so that they can get guidance about personal matters, which is always first and foremost. Trustworthy answers about your life, about how you can live the most incredible life, about how you can be healthy, about how you can look after your family, about where you should live and what you should be doing so that you don't have any doubts. But on a higher level, or a different level perhaps, after that has been accomplished, I love people coming into my world that are from different kind of professions and fields, like medical fields and science fields, who are asking questions of their guardian angels and gaining information, which is really moving science forward, which is helping for there to be answers in all different fields. Because there's no limit to this. You can find out about ancient civilizations, you can find out about a cure for illness, you can find out about any way of human beings coming together and interacting and co-creating peacefully. Whatever your interest is, you can tune into that. And so it really is infinite, and that's what excites me.
Lovely, lovely, great. Wow. And any one more advice you would like to share with the listeners?
It starts here with your heart. If you can place your hand over your heart center and you can say those words to yourself whenever you're feeling anxious, whenever you're feeling sad, whenever you don't know what to do next, if you're lying awake in the middle of the night, saying to yourself with feeling, with as much feeling as you can at that moment in time, I love you. I accept you for all that you are. I love you unconditionally. Then you will be able to experience some peace in that moment. And every tiny little piece of peace that you experience in your life will help you to take that little step into opening to communicating and connecting with your guardian angel.
Lovely. Wow, what an enlightening conversation with Ross, dear listeners. And if there's one thing that we have learned today is that clarity and guidance are closer than we think. And whether you are seeking answers to life's big questions or simply want to feel more connected, then Ross' channel of clarity method offers a path for everyone. And so take that first step, create the space, open your heart, and invite the guidance of your guardian angel into your life. So remember that the journey to clarity starts with curiosity, and you are not alone on this path. Thank you so much for joining us on Healthy Waves. And if this episode has inspired you, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let's keep riding these waves of growth together. So until next time, stay inspired and stay connected. So thank you so much. Lovely.
Avik, that was lovely.